Great to have you tuned to the network service of Radio Nigeria. The program is Spark. Spark is a program brought to you by the International Center for Investigative Reporting and supported by the International Budget Partnership to tackle pressing issues in our nation around unequal maternal health care services, gender-inclusive agricultural support for small-scale women farmers, access to loan, among others. I'm your host, Blessing Ebirari. Today, we're diving into a game changer for women farmers. Imagine women like Mama Aisha in Kano or Auntie Choma in Enugu getting equal access to seed, fertilizer, credit, and training, not as an afterthought, but baked right into government budgets. Women farmers make up over 70% of Nigeria's farm labor force, yet they own less than 10% of farmland and access only a fraction of inputs and loans. Why? Budgets often ignore gender gaps. Joining me now to share expertise on our topic, promoting gender-responsive budgeting in the agricultural sector, is Chris Kaka, the National Program Coordinator, Trade Network Initiative, and Hajara Ramson, Monitoring and Evaluation Officer, SWOFON. You're both welcome to the program.
Thank you for having us.
And to your esteemed listener, the telephone line to make your contributions are 0915 091 0482 or 0915 091 0483. You can send your questions on WhatsApp to 0810 250 7579. I'll take that again, 0810 250 7579. We're also live on Facebook at the ICIR. Don't forget to include your name and location. Let's get into what we have for today. I'll be starting with you, Hajara, as a SWOFON member. What does gender-responsive budgeting mean in the context of agriculture for improving women farmers' access to input and resources?
Okay, gender-responsive budgeting would mean planning, disbursements of funds, spending, everything about budgets, basically.
Okay.
And with a particular attention to women. Okay, when it comes to agriculture, like you just said, women farmers contribute 70 to 80% of the food we consume in Nigeria. Mm-hmm. Yet their needs are not being taken into consideration, and they are not even captured in the budget. So when we say gender-responsive budgeting, it's not necessarily because we want special attention given to women. No, it's because women and men have different realities.
Okay.
And so it's important that those realities are put into consideration. Realities like access to land. Men have more access and control of land. They are able to get more inputs and even information more than those women.
Okay.
So if these things are put into consideration and the women are properly captured in the budget, you put those gender lens when you're doing this budgeting, it will help that it will help the smallholder women farmers. And when we're talking about helping or ensuring that it's inclusive, it's from the start to the finish of budgeting.
Okay.
So in the planning process, implementation, tracking, and every single thing that regards it's important that there's always a gender lens to budgeting.
Okay, thank you so much for enlightening us on that. Mr. Chris, in your experience, how well are current agricultural budgets addressing the specific needs of women farmers at the national or state level?
Okay, thank you very much. I think, truth be told, there are some subnationals.
Okay.
A typical example is the FCT here, that if you look through their budget, you find clearly defined budget lines meant for women in agriculture. You find women in agriculture, women and youth in agriculture. Unfortunately, that's not the story with other states. At the national level, you hardly find such things. If you query our national budget, you wouldn't find them referring to, except of course when they mention youth and thereabouts, specifically women interest. And like she said, their concerns and experiences are quite different from that of their male counterparts. And so because they also make up a substantial chunk of those who produce food we consume in our country here, it's important that you have a dedicated budget to them. So if you are making provisions for people having access to fertilizer, you must also consider that some women are most of the time in the house. And so don't tell me you're distributing fertilizer for free early in the morning when these mothers are actually taking care of their children and trying to do some school runs because they will never be there to actually pick up. Some of them are gone to the stream to fetch water. She will not be able to get to the point where you're giving them. Don't tell me you're giving loan to women, loan to farmers, and the interest rate you're giving to everybody is flat when you know that women do not have the assets required to be able to stand up for collaterals, to be able to accept certain kinds of loan. Be honest with you, financial institutions will be more disposed to give credit to a man, than to actually give it to a woman for farming purpose. And these are one or two things that are actually there. So basically, to answer your question, the national budget does not reflect, it doesn't have a gender lens to it.
Okay.
Some subnationals are trying, but a lot more still needs to be done with some other ones to reflect the concerns and interests of women in the budget, in the whole budget cycle itself.
Okay, thank you for that. You want to say something?
Yes, just to add to what he said. So sometimes some of these things are captured and it looks good,
okay,
but implementation is always the problem.
Okay.
So we've done things where we try to track the budget and see even if it was implemented at all, and most times it's never really implemented.
Okay.
Or sometimes when it's there, it's just so ambiguous. Nothing is not properly disaggregated. So you know what comes to the women, or what comes to the men. Or sometimes they put together the women and the youths together.
Okay.
And we've been clamoring for proper aggregation of specific budget lines for smallholder women farmers, especially.
Thank you for that. Can you tell us the biggest challenge women face in accessing seeds, fertilizers, or even loans?
Okay, first of all, because they are not even captured in the budgets.
Okay.
They do not have access to these things. Secondly, information. Most times when these things are being given out, because they do not have the information. So we're talking of the real farmers. I'm not talking of political farmers, because we have political farmers. I'm talking of real farmers. They do not have the information they ought to have. Then when we talk of access and control of lands, they do not even have it. When we also talk about loans, because they do not have the information, first of all, sometimes they do not even get to know about it. Secondly, even if they have the informations, they do not have the requirements. Most times you hear things like collaterals, like land papers, electricity bills, and all that, and they do not have all of these things. So it makes it very difficult for them to access these things, even when they are available.
Okay. How would allocating 30% of agriculture budget, specifically for women, change farming work, Mr. Chris?
Okay, thank you so much. That sounds something like music to the ear, to have 30% of our budget allocated to women in agriculture. I must be honest with you, if that can be achieved, you will discover that there will be increase in food production. Beyond increase in food production is that the supply to the market will increase, and so the disequilibrium between supply and demand on the market, which is what is fueling inflation in this country, will go down. So you then find that the cost of food in the market is definitely going to go down. Nigerians are going to be able to afford it. The food producers themselves are also smiling to the bank at the end of the day, and it's going to be good for everybody. And it will also contribute to the national food security agenda of this country, because food become accessible, available, and affordable for all citizens. If you can actually do that, and like she said, not only just allocate the resources, but also ensure that there is real disbursement and that the real farmers themselves are the ones who are able to access this particular allocation. But I think it's a good wish to make, and we hope it actually comes to pass someday.
I wish it comes to pass too at some point. Hajara, can you tell us maybe an experience you would like to share from your group, SWAFON, where lack of input affected harvests at any point?
Okay, so I'll talk about the FCT.
Okay.
Of course, those are some of the issues we're having, but over time it has improved because we've done a lot of advocacies here and there, So the lack of inputs has really, really, really affected the production and productivity of smallholder women farmers, where you hear those women are not able to pay their children's school fees, they are not able to do things that basically they should necessarily do. Then the issue of insecurity is even compounding the issues for smallholder women farmers, where they are already abandoning their farms and looking for other things to do, because aside the fact they do not even have those inputs, they are having to deal with insecurity. And also, don't forget that agriculture is time-bound. Yes. When these things don't come as at when due, untimely release of funds, untimely release of inputs, it affects these women farmers greatly, and they are not able to meet up. And that's why we are having food insecurity in Nigeria. And aside the food insecurity, there are their means of livelihood is normally being affected, and their productivity level has dropped considerably. So yes, it's been affecting the women farmers, especially in the FCT.
Okay. The telephone lines are open for you to make your contribution or ask questions. The numbers to call are 0915 091 0483 or 0915 091 0482. I'm going to ask you this question, Mr. Chris. Why do current agricultural budget in Nigeria mostly benefits men instead of the women?
Well,
or does it?
One wouldn't say that it's deliberate. It's just that it's important after the budget. In fact, like she said, the whole budget cycle from the formulation of the policy agenda for the agri sector up to the point where you begin to allocate resources to different MDAs and then the implementation of the budget. It's important that you carry women along. The town hall meetings you have that initiate the whole budget process before the different MDAs get their core circular, ensure that these different groups are actually represented in it. One wouldn't say it's a deliberate one, but I think government needs to do more to also ensure that, look, if we must be sincere about dealing with the issues of food insecurity in our country, we must look at our budget with a gender lens, because that's where it comes. That's where, government is the largest spender in an economy, apart from donor organizations that are trying to support here and there.
True.
Government should be the one actually spending most of this money, and it's important that what they put on the table truly reflects. It gets to those who produce the food, they're able to produce the food, and they're able to supply it to the market. That way, we can address the long talk about high inflation that we're having in this country that is actually taking out everybody's income, because, food is a basic necessity.
True.
And if a major chunk of your resources and income goes to food, you also know what is left of it. So I think it's a call to government to begin to look at our budget with a gender lens. Every sector, in fact, the truth of the matter is there's a national gender policy document, which Nigerians sees, and the content of it in summary says that government has agreed that every programs and policies that is actually carried out must be looked at with a gender lens. And I think it's important all government MDAs begin to respect that particular document and ensure that whatever they do, whatever interventions, whatever programs you carry out must be done with a gender lens, so that you ensure that the interests and concerns of all the different groups in the society are actually carried along, particularly those who produce the food we consume in Nigeria.
Thank you for that. You're tuned to the network. Okay, we have a caller. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, good evening. What's your name and where are you calling us from? Hello? I think it's a network glitch. You're tuned to the network service of Radio Nigeria, and the program is Spark, brought to you by the International Center for Investigative Reporting and supported by the International Budget Partnership. We have been discussing promoting gender-responsive budgeting in the agricultural sector. We'll go on a short break now. When we return, we'll be taking your calls for questions and contribution. Please stay tuned.
To tackle pressing issues in our nation, such as unequal maternal healthcare services, gender-inclusive agricultural support for small-scale women farmers, access to loans, and much more, the International Center for Investigative Reporting presents Spark 2.2, a 30-minute radio program aimed at igniting discussions on these challenges and preferring solutions to them. Spark 2.2 airs every weekday on different radio stations across Nigeria. Mondays, Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, 5 to 5:30 p.m. Tuesdays, Anambra Broadcasting Services, 4 to 4:30 p.m. Wednesdays, Freedom FM Kano and Jigawa, 4 to 4:30 p.m. Thursdays, Prestige FM Mina, 5:30 to 6 p.m. Fridays, Live Radio Ibadan and Sweet FM Abeokuta, 4 to 4:30 p.m. Spark 2.2 is supported by the International Budget Partnership, IBP.
We've been discussing promoting gender-responsive budgeting in the agricultural sector. The telephone lines are open for you to make your contributions or ask questions. The numbers to call are 0915 091 0483 or 0915. We have another caller. Hello, good evening. Now, what's your name? Where are you calling us from?
My name is Adam West. I'm calling from Silesia.
Okay, thank you, Adam West. What's your question?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. What's your question?
Yes, I know my contribution here is that.
Okay.
You see, the women are trying. They will have with it's like in Plateau. I was privileged to see women farmers in group. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Continue, please.
Women farmers in group and farming this, having poultry and farming potatoes, these Irish potatoes and the rest of them. You know what they need to do more for themselves. What happens is this: they need to group themselves together, form association. It's not if you want to assess loan individually.
I think we're having a network. But thank you so much, Adam West. We got that. You heard what he said, that
Yes.
women farmers are trying. You guys need to do more.
Okay, and that's why SWOFON is in existence.
Okay.
So SWOFON is a coalition of smallholder women farmers that have come together to form a network to ensure that the voices of the smallholder women farmers are heard. Like he said, we don't want to work in silos. And when you go as individuals, most times you're not able to achieve your desired results. But when you come together as a group, you're able to achieve a lot. And that's why SWOFON has been in existence since 2018. We've been advocating, we've been doing a lot. A lot is going on, you know. We've just not gotten to where we ought to get to.
True.
But I mean, a lot has been done over the years.
Okay, thank you for that. You want to add something, Mr. Chris? Okay, so what practical ways the 2026 agricultural budget can prioritize women for inputs and training? You want to take that?
Let me give it a shot. I think the point is, okay, the budget now, 2026.
Yes.
Unfortunately, the same 2025 budget that are actually been presented as 2026 budget. But nevertheless, I think one practical way to go around it is every intervention in that particular budget during implementation.
So please, can you hold that thought if we have another caller? Hello, good evening. What's your name and where are you calling us from?
Mr. Adam West calling back because my thing went off. I don't know.
Okay, Adam West. Thank you so much.
The women are supposed to do more for themselves.
Okay.
They need to form cooperative groups so that they can access loans and land and their farm inputs. But if they want to go, if they go individually, actually it will be difficult for them.
Yes.
Because status are just like some men. Just like she earlier, somebody contributed there that we have political farmers, but we have the real farmers. The real farmers are there. So the women are already occupied, because they have to take care of their homes and the rest of them. But there are also peasant farmers who are really serious about farming. Let them form groups.
True.
If anyone that they discover is a serious farmer should be from group so they can get farm input and land and access loans. They will be given, but because of God, I think they will give them because they are good. They will pay back, even if it's going to be small, gradual instrumental payment.
Okay.
Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Adam West, for calling.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Mr. Chris, you can continue. Practical ways the 2026 budget can prioritize women farmers.
Like I was saying earlier, is we need to actually, for every agenda in that particular document that relates to the Ministry of Agriculture, other ministries that have got agri-related water resources and the rest of them, something that has to do with agri in it, is that you must have a gender lens to it. If you must construct a road, think of how it's going to benefit men. Think of how it's going to benefit women. Don't go and put a road on a place where you know it's almost impossible. If there are interventions to be done by government, don't let the distribution be at the middle of the night or sometimes when it is actually wrong for women to actually be out at that. Because at that point in time, they are looking after their homes and their children, perhaps preparing dinner for the family. They can't leave home at that point in time. We must be careful that whatever is in that budget during the implementation of it, it must be done with a gender lens to it. So you may need to disaggregate it. And so this is when we want to do it for men, this is when we want to do it for women. Or women are producing the chunk of the food we eat, because if you check through the whole value chain of any commodity, women, they're either the processor, they're either the farmers themselves, they're the processor, or they are the ones retailing it in the market. So you give them a better substantial percentage of it, such that, I've always believed in these arguments of being discriminative, but in a positive way, giving women the opportunity to actually, because the point is we're trying to address the issue of food insecurity. And so if you give those who actually produce the food more of the attention, and I'm sure that we can begin to arrive at where we need, but something needs to be clearly stated. We still need to develop a database for the real farmers in this country. You'll be more like a person who is blindfolded and is trying to make progress. It's not possible. We need to go back. We used to have it under additional. I don't know what has happened to that particular. We need to have a data. We need to have a data on every farmer, categorized and smallholder farmer, big farmers, know where their location is, so that when you're doing intervention, you know where you're facing intervention and know when interventions come. These big boys,
you know it's even reaching the real farmers.
These big farmers don't show up and then come and muzzle everybody out of it, and they, at the end of the day, collect the whole thing out of everyone. So I think it's important to see the budget hasn't prepared. We can't turn the hand of the clock, but every interventions in it that must be done, we must implement it with a gender lens to ensure that women are actually not marginalized while they're trying to do that.
Okay, Hajara, you want to
Okay, just to add to what Mr. Chris said, I said it earlier, but I want to just reiterate, it's important that women are carried along.
Okay.
They are included. It's very important from the formulation to the end. The whole budget cycle is very important. You cannot assume this is what I want. So it's important that these women are carried along, so that during the planning stage, they are there. They say, okay, this is what we need. Okay, we were even talking about gender-friendly equipment. You can't buy a tractor for me. I probably don't need a tractor. I need a more gender-friendly equipment. So if we're talking about these things and we're serious about gender-responsive budgeting, we need to carry the women from the start, from the formulation, planning, spending, implement every single thing. They have to be there. And like Mr. Chris mentioned, you cannot be doing it at night and the woman will be at home taking care of her children.
True.
But there has to be time set aside where everyone is adequately carried along if we must ensure that we're food secured as a nation.
Okay, so how can listeners help push for gender responsive budgeting in their local government areas?
Okay, so government, or we're talking of individuals?
Individuals, listeners.
Okay, like most times people are not aware. So what this is one of the ways, when people hear it, they begin to see reason why it's important that for gender responsive budgeting. And we need to speak out. We need to just speak out. It's not just for the smallholder women farmers, because food security concerns everybody, individuals, everyone in the country. It concerns everyone. So individuals, CSOs, everyone just needs to speak out. And just, okay, where are we at right now as regards the budget? One of the things we've done with the smallholder women farmers, we're already training them. So we pull out specific budget lines that have to do with them, and we use that as an advocacy tool. And so we go to government and say, okay, this is what's on the budget. How far are we on this? Or you said you're going to do this in this local government. I'm a resident in this local government. I am not seeing this. So when citizens begin to hold government accountable, we're going to get more going. So it's not just for the smallholder women farmers. Yes, they are the producers of food, but food security concerns everyone.
True.
So there's a lot of work to be done.
Mr. Chris, do you think women are interested in budgets generally?
The whole
do they even understand?
The whole concept of budget sounds a little bit technical, and so for some of them it's like, I don't understand this thing, but then it affects them. And like she said, if you can sensitize them and understand that, look, the problem you are facing, the pathway to solving it, this is a starting point. You will find that the interest become and SOFON has been doing a lot in that direction. I must be honest with you. You hear smallholder women farmer talking about budget, you be wowed by if they pitch some things they want to do for you and how the budget can help them, you're so amazed. So they are not really that rural farmer we used to think of them. The ones we have, the crop of farmers we have, particularly those under the umbrella of SOFON, become so they've been really sensitized. The awareness in terms of what the budget can actually do in contributing to the job they do as farmers has actually come awoken in their minds, and it is important that a lot of them. So maybe not that they are not aware, it's just that the nexus, the linkage between what they do and how the budget can help them is what they don't know. But they know they have a problem and they know they need a solution and government can help. But I think the awareness is gaining, is actually gathering momentum. We're not there yet, but I think this kind of program is also trying to make them understand. Don't think that the budget is meant for them. It is meant for you. Actually, if it doesn't affect you, then that means that budget implementation has actually not been carried out well. It must impact on you as a farmer, wherever you are, irrespective of the locations where you are. In any case, the thing we call agriculture is done majorly at the rural area, and so it must be felt at that particular level before you can say the budget of agri has actually been implemented in the first place.
Okay, as we round off, what practical step can government, civil society, or even women groups take to ensure agricultural budgets are inclusive and truly benefits women farmers?
Like I keep mentioning, inclusivity. Okay. Government needs to ensure that women farmers are captured in the budget. There are clear and specific budget lines for smallholder women farmers. That's one. Two, there has to be an oversight. So sometimes when you go and start doing advocacy, they'll be like, no, we've done this, we've done that. But who oversights? Okay. It's important. There needs to be tracking and monitoring, but that will probably go to, government too. There has to be MDAs and all that track. We've worked with the Auditor General's office, and because they say their releases have been done, but does it really get to the real smallholder women farmers? So oversight is very important to ensure that it's the real smallholder women farmers that are getting it. There's CSOs. We need to form there needs to be a coalition, collaborations, where we're holding government accountable to say, okay, what have you done? Where are we on this? Let's begin to track. It doesn't have to be the smallholder women farmers alone. We have to all work together. So government have their own parts to play, but even the civil societies also have their parts to play. To also sometimes pull out those specific budget lines and say, okay, this is it. Where are we on this? Has this been implemented? No, to track it. And sometimes we smallholder women farmers, we just want to leverage on the experience and the expertise of the CSOs, to ensure that we're food secured as a nation.
Okay, Mr. Chris, you talked about data of the real farmers. So how can we ensure that we have complete and well arranged data of all of this smallholder women farmers, so that when anything is released, it comes to them directly than these political farmers, as we round off?
All right, thank you very much. I think it's just the way you do your census. There's no magic to it.
Okay.
Just the way you do your census. You could, deploy people. They did it under additional. They had the data. They were supposed to update it. We don't know what happened to that particular data. That would have been a baseline information we could use and say, okay, maybe every year we want to increase it by a certain percentage, that assuming that so many number of people have. We needed to have that data. It is not possible that you send at the local government level, where governance is actually being held, at each ward level, and say, please, there is a need for you to begin to register. The federal government has directed that if you're a smallholder farmer, please, if you're not, what category of farmer, what kind of commodity do you grow, what kind of need do you have? People will come out and register and give you their details, and you can use that.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you for joining us on today's program. Government should start looking at the budget with a gender lens. Many thanks to the studio manager, Mahmoud Abdullahi, the producer Vivian Onowewari, the engineer Jonathan Aina, the ICR social media team led today by Israel Shushimi and Gobri Abdulaziz. I'm Blessing Ebiri.
To tackle pressing issues in our nation, such as unequal maternal healthcare services, gender-inclusive agricultural support for small-scale women farmers, access to loans, and much more, the International Center for Investigative Reporting presents Spark 2.2, a 30-minute radio program aimed at igniting discussions on these challenges and preferring solutions to them. Spark 2.2 airs every weekday on different radio stations across Nigeria. Mondays, Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, 5 to 5:30 p.m. Tuesdays, Anambra Broadcasting Services, 4 to 4:30 p.m. Wednesdays, Freedom FM Kano and Jigawa, 4 to 4:30 p.m. Thursdays, Prestige FM Mina, 5:30 to 6 p.m. Fridays, Live Radio Ibadan and Sweet FM Abeokuta, 4 to 4:30 p.m. Spark 2.2 is supported by the International Budget Partnership, IBP. To tackle pressing issues in our nation, such as unequal maternal healthcare services, gender-inclusive agricultural support for small-scale women farmers, access to loans, and much more, the International Center for Investigative Reporting presents Spark 2.2, a 30-minute radio program aimed at igniting discussions on these challenges and preferring solutions to them. Spark 2.2 airs every weekday on different. To tackle pressing issues in our nation, such as unequal maternal healthcare services, gender-inclusive agricultural support for small-scale women farmers, access to loans, and much more, the International Center for Investigative Reporting presents Spark 2.2, a 30-minute radio program aimed at igniting discussions on these challenges and preferring solutions to them. Spark 2.2 airs every weekday on different radio stations across Nigeria. Mondays, Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria, 5 to 5:30 p.m. Tuesdays, Anambra Broadcasting Services, 4 to 4:30 p.m. Wednesdays, Freedom FM Kano and Jigawa, 4 to 4:30 p.m. Thursdays, Prestige FM Mina, 5:30 to 6 p.m. Fridays, Live Radio Ibadan and Sweet FM Abeokuta, 4 to 4:30 p.m. Spark 2.2 is supported by the International Budget Partnership, IBP.